We did it. We're back. What's up, Meg?
What's up?
I asked you first.
Allergies.
They are killing you. Last week it was a bee sting that got you. This week it's what? Pollen?
The pollen's so bad.
Do you think it's the bees that are leading to the pollen and stirring it up, and ultimately it's still the bees' fault?
Maybe.
Interesting. Yeah. So, this is the Yore podcast. If you're new here, thank you for listening. We do some true crime stuff, some history stuff, some mystery stuff, a little bit of whatever we feel like covering. The voice that you're hearing, it's me, it's Matt. That over there, joining me as always, you can't see on camera, but it's the beautiful, lovely Meg.
Hey.
Guess what?
What?
I got this couple of new flannels in, and I know you're peanut butter and jelly about them, but they're pretty comfy.
I don't want to talk about it.
Oh, well, I want to talk about it because if anybody else out there wants to get themselves a flannel, I highly recommend it's our friends over at Vermont Flannel. And did you know, Meg, that if they use the code BeardLaws24 or you use the code BeardLaws24, you can save 10% on any orders over $100.
I do really want one.
Oh, they're so comfy, aren't they?
They are.
3-time hand-rolled, made in the USA. It is my go-to and the official flannel of the Beard Laws Studio, which we are part of. Check them out, beardlawstudio.com, vermontflannel.com, and as always, copperjohnsbeard.com. And what I don't want you to check out, Meg, don't read ahead on the notes because this is an interesting one. It's so interesting. I wrote this forever ago, and I don't even really remember it, so we're going to get through this together, but I'm super excited because you know why?
Why?
I can say the guy's name.
Okay.
That makes me happy. I'm not really good at pronouncing names, but either way, what do you think? Should we jump into this one?
Let's jump.
All right, should we do the intro?
Do it.
When?
Now.
We did it. I don't even have to wonder if it works anymore. We got this down. We're not rookies anymore. But today's episode, we're going to peel back the layers of the mystery surrounding Fred Durst, the serial killer, and the saga that he found himself in. Meg looked at me funny. I was going to see if she picked it up. It's Robert. But I wanted to see how many listeners knew Fred Durst. Because he did it all for the nookie. The what? It's Robert Durst. We're going to find out all about him, his family, and his cousins, uncles, friends, fathers, brothers, kid, Fred. Right from the early days with Robert, he just had obscurity, and then eventually he got a murderous alter ego. So again, let's jump into this. And Meg's probably wondering, and anybody listening, who is Robert Durst? Well, he entered the world in New York City, April 12th, 1943, and spent a lot of his years growing up in Scarsdale, New York. He was born to Seymour Durst, a prominent figure in real estate, and his wife, Bernice Herstein. Is that how you would say it?
Herstein?
Yeah. Herstein, like Herstein. Must be German. Get it? Full of jokes today. Seymour Durst. That's kind of a cool name. The father, Joseph Durst, originally hailing from Austria-Hungary, immigrated to the United States in 1902, where he achieved success as a real estate manager and developer. In 1927, he established the Durst Organization, laying the groundwork for the family's real estate empire. Robert was one of 4 siblings that included Douglas, Tommy, and Wendy Durst. At the age of 7, unfortunately, tragedy strikes Robert's family when his mother tragically takes her own life by jumping from the roof of their Scarsdale home. Robert later recounted that his father had guided him to a window just moments before, allowing him a glimpse of his mother's standing on the roof. That's a little twisted.
Yeah.
However, in March 2015, there was an interview with the New York Times. His brother Douglas said, "Nah, that never happened. Robert never witnessed his mother's death." Who do we believe here? I'm gonna believe Douglas. Have you ever met a Douglas that wasn't very truthful and was like not real with you and told the truth?
Nope.
Me neither. Know a guy named Doug? Shout out Doug. All right. So during their childhood, both Robert and Douglas underwent counseling to address issues of sibling rivalry. A psychiatrist's report from 1953 when Robert was just 10 years old, mentioned concerns about his mental health, citing personality decomposition and possibly even schizophrenia. These early experiences undoubtedly left a lasting impact on Robert's psyche, shaping the trajectory of his life. How many times do we continually put out these episodes and it's like, oh, mental health problem, well, still mental health problem.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, they go untreated.
Mm-hmm.
So let's jump ahead a little bit more. Now, Durst, he's in high school at the Scarsdale High School, where peers characterized him as a solitary figure. I think because he was really good at playing the card game solitaire.
Probably.
I think so too. Then he graduates high school. He's pursued higher education at Lehigh University, go LU, graduating with a bachelor's degree in economics in 1965. During his time at Lehigh, Durst was actively involved in campus life, actually served as a member of the varsity lacrosse team, holding the position of business manager, also at the student newspaper, the Brown and White. I mean, things seem decent at this point. Following his undergraduate studies, he then ventured to the University of California, which is in Los Angeles. UCLA, baby. The Bruins. He then enrolls in a doctoral program. It was during this time at UCLA that he actually crossed paths with Susan Berman. However, his academic pursuits were short-lived as he ultimately withdrew from the program and returned to New York in 1969, marking a pivotal moment in his life's journey. What do you think, Meg? The career that he chose took an unconventional turn as he veered away from the family business, the Durst organization, which was obviously real estate. Despite the lucrative opportunities afforded by his father's real estate empire, he opted to chart his own path, opening a health food store in Vermont during the 1970s.
It's a very Vermont thing to do.
It's a very Vermont thing to do. And as mentioned, check out Vermont flannels. Durst then, of course, does this in Vermont. His entrepreneurial venture was also short-lived, as he shuttered the store in 1973 at the behest of his father, who then persuaded him to come back to New York. What? Persuaded him?
I like the made-up word. It's
Thank
nice.
you. Thank you.
That's a good one.
I'm going to continually make up
Persuaded.
words. Persuaded. It's like it's the pursuit of a suit. In the 70s, they were big suit wearers in the 60s and 70s. Double-breasted suits, probably. Nevertheless, his tenure at the Durst organization was marred by controversy and strained relationships, which is a thing of the past, His father's decision to appoint, guess who? Douglas, his successor in 1992, due to Durst's inappropriate behavior, shattered Durst's expectations of inheriting the family business. Feeling entitled to his share of the fortune despite his disinterest in the company, he then had tons of resentment towards his family, especially old Douglas, who he then accused of just kind of taking what he felt was his, which, I don't know. There's that sibling rivalry again. Should read that report. So they go to court. They, fight a legal battle. And he wants his share of the family trust. So in 2006, after years of litigation, they reach a settlement and was bought out of the family trust for $65 million. This, obviously, is a definitive chapter in the Durst relationship with his family. And I mean, at this point, they're probably like, you're done. You're gone. You got what you wanted. You got the money. See you later. Now that we know who he is, and how he grew up, and kind of how the family relationship is, we should probably talk about all the crimes he was then investigated for.
Uh-oh. Dun, dun, dun.
There it is. Buckle up. First, there was the disappearance of Kathleen McCormack Durst. In the autumn of 1971, Robert Durst crossed paths with Kathleen McCormack, a dental hygienist, and their encounter marked the beginning of a significant chapter in both their lives. Despite only 2 dates, Durst extended an invitation to McCormack to join him in his Vermont home, a gesture she accepted, and then she relocated in January of 1972. However, the course of the relationship took a turn when Durst's father again intervened and said, "Hey, come back to New York. We need you in the Durst organization." We all know how that works out. So they both go to Manhattan, where they then exchange vows. April 12th, 1973, just 3 months later. And guess what? It was on his birthday. 30th birthday. He says, hey, I'm getting me a wife. That's what he did. 2 dates, 3 months, and a birthday present there. So, obviously, this moment in life, it's a big one. It's a marriage, and it starts to intertwine their fates, which is some good triumphs and some tragedies. At the time of her disappearance, she was on the cusp of a promising future, a dedicated student in her final year at Albert Einstein College of Medicine in the Bronx. She was diligently working towards her dream of becoming a pediatrician. Tragically, though, her aspirations were abruptly halted when she vanished under very mysterious circumstances. The last confirmed sighting of McCormack was someone, obviously someone other than Robert Durst, occurred on the evening of January 31st, 1982. So just shy of their 9th wedding anniversary, she unexpectedly attended a dinner party hosted by her friend in Newtown. Not going to try to say that name, which was in Newtown, Connecticut. Sorry to her friend. It's a toughie. You want to try to say it?
We'll just say Gilbert. Is it Gilbert? Gilberte.
I was going to say Gilbert, but now you got me. That's why I didn't want to say it. Gilberte Najame. That's what we're going with.
Sure.
All right. McCormack's demeanor raised concern amongst her and her friends. The friends obviously worried. Then most of the friends know. They know better. They know well. They know when something's up. She just seemed to really appear visibly distressed and donned red sweatpants, a departure from her usual attire. It was noted that McCormack seldom dressed casually in public. Following the dinner party, she departed for her cottage in South Salem, New York, after receiving a phone call from her husband. Little did anyone know that this would be the last time she was seen alive, plunging her loved ones into a harrowing ordeal in uncertainty and unanswered questions. Despite the couple's known disagreements and tensions that evening, he initially asserted that he escorted his wife to the rail station, the Katana rail station, where he reportedly, we'll go with reportedly, I typed that one wrong, put her on a commuter train for New York City. We're a professional podcast, don't worry about it. He claimed to have then enjoyed a drink with a neighbor before allegedly engaging in a phone conversation with Kathleen at their Manhattan apartment later that night. However, Megh, the narrative of him kind of shifted over time. He eventually confessed that he simply returned home and went to bed. A stark contrast to his earlier assertions. So then he says, all right, this is what I told police. I was hoping that would just make everything go away, is what he kind of was trying to tell them after the story seems to have changed. So obviously he changes stories. There's now a shadow of a doubt over his version of events in her disappearance, leaving investigators and the public kind of just really wanting the truth. Now he's getting accusations, which, I mean, he probably should at this point, right? So obviously following the departure of, leaving the residence where she was rocking the red sweatpants, which was weird, the plan was for the two to rendezvous at the Lion's Gate, a pub in Manhattan. She didn't show up, and they were a little more confused. She made numerous frantic calls to police over ensuing days in a desperate bid to locate her friend. So Robert Durst formally reported his wife missing later that week. However, discrepancies did emerge with the sightings, with both a doorman and the building superintendent at the couple's Riverside Drive apartment claimed to have glimpsed her on February 1st, the day following her last confirmed appearance. Their accounts raised doubts. The doorman admitted that his observation was from a distance and that he couldn't definitely identify her. Furthermore, a private investigator hired by Durst's lawyer uncovered inconsistencies in the doorman's testimony as well, suggesting that McCormack may have not been seen entering the building after all. So the developments continued when a mere 3 weeks later after the disappearance, her personal belongings were discovered in the building's trash compactor by the superintendent. These aren't looking good for old Robert. And it, obviously deepened the mystery surrounding the fate and where is she? And I have to imagine as a loved one, it's not settling any better knowing that those are gone. So in the weeks leading up to her disappearance, sorry for the yawn. Am I boring you?
Sorry.
Jeez. Sorry, everybody. If you're yawning, is everybody else?
I'm sorry.
Okay. In the weeks leading up to the disappearance, Meg, Kathleen McCormack. I know I have a soothing voice. I'm trying to put on the true crime voice.
Listen, I think because I'm kind of stuffy from the pollen,
Mhm.
I'm like deprived of oxygen
Oh,
a little bit. I think that's what's happening.
does anybody have any O2 tanks?
And I've been cold.
True.
And it's nice and toasty in here, so it's like that.
Okay. Well, and you're rocking a Vermont flannel that is extra comfy.
Mm-hmm.
They also have blankets. I'll get you one. But check this out. Weeks leading up to the disappearance of Kathleen, she actually sought medical treatment at the Jacobi Medical Center in the Bronx. She had facial bruises, which obviously is not another good thing for old Durst. A confident release disclosed that McCormack confined in her about instances of domestic violence, which obviously against her husband, and didn't want to pursue legal action against him. McCormack did request $250,000 for a divorce settlement from Durst, an appeal that was met with retaliation. Rather than entertain her plea, Durst just decided to cancel her credit cards and got rid of her name from the joint bank account and refused to support her medical education. She's cut off. At the time of the disappearance, Durst was romantically involved with Prudence Farrow and had been residing separately. His response to the wife's disappearance raised further suspicion, initially offering a $100,000 reward for a safe return. He then slashed it to a mere $15,000.
So they were already divorced when the disappearance happened?
It sounds like they were still, they were separated, but it seems like they were kind of still going through
the process.
Yeah, going through the process. And he had already moved on with old Prudence. This kind of sounds like a real estate name or some kind of insurance or something. Like, I'd call Prudence for
Prudence Farrow.
Yeah, for my home insurance. Which, I mean, he's out of the family biz. He's got all the money. Which, another red flag. Take that reward money and slash it to $15,000. So, meanwhile, McCormack's concerned friend and sister ventured to her South Salem cottage in search of answers. They were met with a scene of disarray. The residence had been ransacked. Her mail lay untouched, and her personal effects discarded in the trash, obviously intensifying concerns about her well-being, and they just have really no answers at this point. But Durst then claimed their final conversation occurred when McCormack phoned him from the Riverside Drive apartment, asserting that he last saw her at the train station, which he already said there, and which he was supposed to get on the train to go to Manhattan. Durst further alleged that the medical school supervisor informed him of McCormack's prolonged absence from class after she called in sick on February 1st. That date just keeps sliding in there, huh?
Mm-hmm.
But the authenticity of the call remains uncertain. 8 years post-disappearance, Durst initiated divorce proceedings against McCormack, citing spousal abandonment. Then in 2016, McCormack's family petitioned for her to be declared legally deceased, a request granted the subsequent year. Anne McCormack, Kathleen's mother, saw retribution by suing Durst for $100 million, accusing him of the daughter's murder and depriving them of the right to lay her to rest. Although McCormack's parents have since passed away, her younger sister, Mary McCormack Hughes, shares the conviction that Durst is responsible in her sister's demise. The New York State Police quietly reopened the investigation in 1999, conducting the initial search of the South Salem resident, but the case gained public scrutiny in November 2000. In August 2019, a wrongful death lawsuit brought by another of McCormack's sisters, Carol, were dismissed due to procedural issues, though the U.S. Court of Appeals later revised the date of McCormack's death to correspond with her disappearance. During Durst's trial for the murder of somebody else that's coming up here, in May 2021, they announced the reclassification of McCormack's disappearance as a murder, triggering a reinvestigation in 2021. Following the conviction of this other case, they announced to a grand jury to pursue charges against him in McCormack's death. October 22nd, 2021, Durst was formally arrested indicted in the connection with her demise, making a pivotal development, another word I made up, in the enduring quest for justice for Kathleen McCormack. Crazy, right?
It is.
That's only the first one.
I was looking back to see when this all, like when he was born.
Oh, did you find it?
Yeah.
When was he born?
43.
There we go.
I was just curious to see, like.
Yeah. So the name that I intentionally skipped over is Susan Berman. This is the second investigation against him. Susan Berman was a close associate of Robert Durst, who aided in establishing his alibi following Kathleen McCormack's disappearance. Unfortunately, met her fate Christmas Eve of 2000. Her lifeless body was discovered in a Benedict Canyon home in Los Angeles, California, in a chilling execution-style murder. Concerned neighbors alerted authorities after noticing that her door was open and one of her pet terriers was walking around outside. In a disturbing turn of events, just days prior to Berman's demise, a cryptic letter addressed to the Beverly Hills Police Department arrived, postmarked December 23rd. It ominously bore Berman's address alongside the unsettling word cadaver. Notably, the misspelling of Beverly as Beverly, I guess you can't really see that, but there's an EY and a Y first, then an EY, added a sinister layer to the already eerie message. Durst's proximity to the scene of the crime, having been in Northern California shortly before her death, and then abruptly getting back to New York, obviously raised some more red flags. This guy's got a lot of red flags. Mm-hmm. Red flags, red sweatpants, it's unbelievable. But what's even kind of more of a mystery, there was a financial transaction between Durst and Berman of $50,000. Which obviously, guess what, Meg? Another red flag. Mm-hmm. During the ensuing investigation, Durst acknowledged sending Berman $25,000, but kind of balked at the further interrogation regarding her murder. He then claims that Berman had contacted him just prior to her death, disclosing that the LAPD sought to question her about McCormack's disappearance. However, scrutiny over the authenticity of this claim emerged, casting doubt on whether such inquiries had indeed transpired. He then has erratic behavior, including his flight to Galveston, Texas, and adoption of a disguise as a mute woman. Underscored his efforts to evade law enforcement.
Interesting choice.
Of all of them, I'm going to be a mute woman. I mean, that's probably far off from a man that can talk. So if you're going to try to hide, but then there was a biographer, Kathy Scott, posted a chilling motive behind Berman's murder, suggesting that Durst silenced her due to her intimate knowledge of Kathleen McCormack's vanishing, as the web of suspicion, I almost said another word, that's not a word, surrounding Durst continued to tighten. The circumstances surrounding Susan Berman's ultimately demise further deepened the intrigue surrounding this perplexing case. Guess what, Meg? There's another one.
My goodness.
There's 4.
He's not a spring chicken either.
No.
At this point.
No.
That's why I was looking back.
Yeah. And then it's October 9, 2001. There's another one. And guess where he just traveled? Galveston. They find the body parts belonging to his 71-year-old neighbor, Morris Black. And they were actually found adrift in Galveston Bay. Jeez. And he gets arrested and then sends shockwaves through the community, marking a disturbing escalation in the unfolding drama. Despite being released on a hefty $250,000 bail, the erratic behavior continued. I mean, they let him out. $250,000. The guy's got $65 million. Unbelievable. He then skips a crucial court hearing on October 16th, prompting authorities to issue a warrant for his arrest on charges of bail jumping. So then there's the pursuit of Durst intensifies. On November 30th, he was apprehended inside a Wegmans supermarket in Pennsylvania, attempting I don't know what he was going to do with it, but he had an assortment of pretty curious items: Band-Aids, a newspaper, chicken salad sandwich, and he had $500 cash on him. Band-Aids, a newspaper, and some chicken salad sandwiches. It's an interesting combination. But what's in his rental car is pretty disturbing. Among the items discovered were a staggering $37,000 in cash, 2 firearms, some marijuana, Morris Black's driver license, and a chilling directions that actually led to the home of, guess who, Meg?
Who?
Gilbert in Connecticut. Their sinister intentions extended beyond material possessions, as he then decided, I'm going to stalk my brother Douglas. Even visited him in the driveway in New York while he was armed. Throughout this period, Durst enlisted the services of defense attorney John Waldron to navigate the legal, I'm going to just say it, shitstorm that's happening. Despite the attempts to elude capture, evade justice, Durst eventually was extradited to Texas. And this is when it began, the high-stakes legal battles that would unravel the complexity of his troubled psyche and the dark deeds that defined his existence. Guess what, Meg? There's one more.
Oh, my.
Additional cases. In the wake of Susan Berman's tragic murder, authorities began to scrutinize Robert Durst's potential involvement in a series of other unsolved disappearances, casting a spotlight on the shadowy past and raising chilling questions and all these connections. And I think we've painted the picture and actually gave you a pretty decent trail, better than the Oregon Trail or Oregon Trail, depending where you're from. One of the other cases that he is kind of being linked to was Lynn Schultz, an 18-year-old Middlebury College freshman who vanished on December 10th, 1971. That person visited Durst's health food store on the day she went missing, and her last sighting was near a bus stop across from the store. Despite mounting suspicions, his attorney opposed the questioning from Vermont police, and they were just kind of naming it and thinking, hey, this is just opportunistic because of everything else going on. But then there's another case potentially linked to Durst. A 16-year-old Karen Mitchell from California disappeared on November 25th, 1997. Credit card records placed Durst in the same place on the same day that she vanishes. And apparently she may have volunteered in a homeless shelter where he would also occasionally frequent. This guy with millions of dollars doing there. Just looking good. Do you think he's helping?
I
don't
know.
Mitchell was last seen walking to work from her aunt's store, and when this sketch of her presumed abductor bore a striking resemblance of old Durst. And investigators then dive deep into his past, and then there's even more potential ties to a cold case where he had lived in, trying to link everything together from Vermont, New York, California, and Texas. Despite the FBI's inability to definitively link Durst to the Long Island serial murders, the Bureau established an informal task force to collaborate with local agencies and just kind of go over these cases because there's a lot to them. And like you said, he's no spring chicken. Just an old man with a not very good brain. So, additionally, private investigators uncovered a trail of Durst operating under stolen identities across multiple states, further deepening the mystery that surrounded him. His life came to a close January 10th, 2022, when he passed away from a cardiac arrest at just a general hospital in Stockton, California. He was 78 years old. He had been undergoing medical testing at the time of his passing, and despite his death, he remained in the custody of the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. With his demise, this figure, who had long been shrouded in mystery and suspicion, left behind a legacy marked by unanswered questions and unresolved cases. Yeah, his life and the crimes and the terrible things that he did. We obviously left out a lot of gruesome details because there was a lot to this, so I did try to really get through this in under 30 minutes, and we're close. So sorry if you felt it was boring or long. There was a lot to this guy, a lot of crazy things that he did. So, and it was so crazy that it actually inspired a lot of different episodes, books, movies. There was 3 episodes in the Law and Order television franchise. A 2003 sketch was actually done on Saturday Night Live. The American Court TV television series Mugshots, a movie based on the book A Deadly Secret. The television movie titled The Lost Wife of Robert Durst, The Jury Speaks, dedicated an episode on ABC. And then there was a 2-hour episode of their TV news magazine, 2020.
Maybe that's where it's familiar.
That's what I'm thinking. We probably saw it on an episode of 2020, and we're like, let's do the podcast. The movie All Good Things, and These was also inspired by that as well, and that's just to name a few. So there's quite a bit, and I know this is a popular case that a lot of people have heard about, but it was one that happened in our state and many others, so we felt like we wanted to do it. You want to do the quote?
Sure.
I want you to say the name, too.
I'm not gonna.
Come on.
Okay. Behind every fortune, there is a crime. Honore de... I don't know.
I would say Honore de Balzac.
Sure.
Kind of looks like Balzac. 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 Either way. Sources, Wikipedia, the New York Times, a newdomain.net, vulture.com, newyorkpost.com. There was, like I said, it was a little bit longer. I tried to keep it under there. We're close. So thank you to everybody that listened. There was a lot to this case. We wanted to put our kind of little twist on it where we can't pronounce words or names, but we have a lot of laughs through it. So thanks for listening. Meg, thanks for taking some time as well out of your day. Let's get out of here. Let's get these allergies under control and get in that hot tub and fix that busted neck.
Mm-hmm.
Being old stinks.
It's been a busy, long couple weeks.
It has. So thanks for everybody for putting up this, whether we're in the mobile studio or we're here. It's been crazy. So we'll continue to do that. If you have any suggestions on any thing that you heard or any states, please shoot us a message on Instagram, the Beard Laws Studio, or matt@beardlaws.com. But that's all we got. Anything else, Meg?
Nope.
All right. Take care, everybody. We'll be back next week with another episode. Spoiler alert. Well, it's come a little bit. It's going to be a crazy murder that happened on Father's Day, because next week is Father's Day. So if you haven't bought anything for your father or father-in-law or the father in your life, make sure you go get him something. All right. And we have a special edition one next week that is going to be about Father's Day. So that's all we got. Okay. Bye.
Bye.